Hey YouTubers, got a EB Falcon here, my brother's car. Going to do a quick service on it, oil change, new plugs, new leads, even a couple of new radiator hoses. Not a full service, like we've already put a new power steering pump, reconditioned gearbox, new fuel filter and all that in there, but at some stage I'll video doing all that kind of stuff as well. But let's get into it. Okay, first things first, just going to pull the plugs out and do those first. This is just going to be, you know, very basic. Most people would probably know this, but this is more for beginners and might help somebody out. Okay, just crack your plugs one at a time. I'll just show you one. We won't bore you with the whole lot, but we'll pull these out. Okay, that's rubber thing in me socket's not real good. Alright, yeah, not the best. I always usually look around here too. Sometimes, like when your spark basically comes in, it can shoot down in between here and arc out on here, and you'll sometimes see little black lines. So it's always good to put a bit of what do they call it, dielectric grease around your spark plugs when you're putting them back in. Always makes it easier to get the plugs back off, or the leads back off the plug, sorry, and it also just stops any firing from basically any arcing from here down to the plug. There's none on this, but we'll show you that a bit later. Okay, so basically we're going to give these 4-point contact platinum plus iridium Bosch plugs a go. I've never seen them before, but yeah, they look pretty cool. 4 little points. We'll give those a go. Alrighty. Okay, so basically what I do is just slip the plug into the socket, or by hand at first. Just get him in there, get him tightened up by hand, and once it's all the way tightened, basically just tighten him up with your ratchet. You don't need to go super tight on them. Basically just when you feel that little crush washer on the bottom of the plug, because they're new plugs, you'll feel it crush. Just like that. No tighter than that. Alright, that's just going to run along and do all them, and we'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so when you're putting, just get dielectric grease, cheap as dielectric grease. You just run a smooth little bead around your plugs like so. Rub it on a little bit by finger. Just makes the leads next time come off a hell of a lot easier, and like I said, it basically stops any arcing from your lead down to this metal part of the plug. So yeah, just thought I'd show you that. Okay, so we've got all the plugs in. I'm going to do these leads next. Not real good at this video and stuff yet. I'm halfway between moving. I'm doing things sort of a bit half-assed at the moment. But yeah, hopefully my content will get better and I'll be able to explain things better. Just doing things on a dodgy old phone at the moment. Anyways, okay, so the first things first, what I'll do is basically just pull off one lead at a time. You know, if you're not real good with cars and whatnot, I recommend only pulling off one lead and replacing it one at a time, because otherwise if you get it wrong, you'll have to basically do the firing order on these Fords. It's 153621 clockwise. But yeah, as you pull one off, just find the one that's the same length on your new ones, replace one at a time as you go, and then one coil lead. I'll give you a look in a minute on how we do some of that. Okay, so I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. Just jacked it up. As you can see just there's the coil lead, which I can easily reach from underneath to pull off. I'm going to just do that one first. And obviously we've got to pull the oil filter out when we do the oil change. So I'm going to pull the coil lead off and leave it jacked up while I do the rest of the leads, and I'll jump back under and do the oil change. But just showing you how it's easier to get to this coil lead from underneath rather than from up top, because it is very, very difficult to get to from up top. As you can see, you can probably try and reach down in there, but I've got pretty big hands and whatnot, but can't get to it from up top. So I'm going to rip that off, plug the new one on, unplug the other coil lead from the center of the Dizzy cap, and put the new one on, and then we'll start doing the rest of the leads.
It's going.
Just stop that video. Okay, so I've plugged the other new coil lead from the coil on underneath the car. Now I've just got to pop the one off the center of the Dizzy cap. I just use a little easy as flathead screwdriver. Now I'm going to pull that old one out, just like that. There it is, the other one's plugged on underneath. Now I've just got to pop that back on in the center. There's the coil lead one done. Okay, so here's number one. I'm going to pull that out. Easier said than done, but yeah, pull that out, unclip it up here, pull it off your number one plug, pull it out, and then over here, I just pulled these out a minute ago, and these leads are actually numbered, so it'll save you measuring them up. Actually shows on them one, shows the numbers like 1, 6. So this number one should be the same length roughly as this one. As you can see, they're roughly the same length, Anyway, we'll put the new one on and basically do them in sequence, one at a time. We'll get back to you in a second. So you just drop it back down through the hole where they go, find where it goes, make sure it clips in like that. Yep, she's in, and then easy as, obviously up here is the easy part. Just click it back roughly where it goes, clip it onto your new plug, and your dielectric grease should stop it from making it difficult to get off. Make sure these are clipped on there. Sometimes you don't hear a click, just make sure that they're really well and truly pushed on there. Alright, up here we'll just, so you just find what, your number two plug, you just have a feel around, have a look on the Dizzy cap where it goes to, found where it goes to, clip it off, yep, there we go, pull that one out, there's number two done. And we'll just grab a new one, do exactly the same, feed it back through exactly where it goes, clip it on, done, and just do that all the way along. Yep. Okay, so I'm just basically using, some of them are a bit hard to get to because they've got big hands, just using a piece of wire and basically just slipping it down in there and just pulling it off the distributor cap. Just something might make things a bit easier. It's a little bit fiddly here and there, but basically pretty easy all in all. Okay, so now we're going to do the oil change. I'm just going to do the filter first. Basically, these little tools here, they basically just clip onto the you just got to, it's a bit of a maneuvering jobby, but they basically just turn the opposite way to the, they're about $10. You can use, an old leather belt if you don't have one of these tools. You can just stab a screwdriver through it somehow and basically, make sure you stab a screwdriver all the way through to crack it. Sometimes they're hand loose because you don't really need to tighten them up tight. Most of the time you can crack them by hand, but with this, very, very easy tool to use, and you basically just crack them and then, a little bit, and then the rest of them you can do by hand. So once they're cracked, just grab it by hand and start turning. We'll pull that out and I'll show you how to put the new one in. Okay, so basically, make sure you got something to catch your oil in too. Forgot to mention, always good to have rags on hand when you're doing, fucking going tight on me again, there we go. Always good to have rags on hand when you're doing your oil. There we go. Yeah, just let that drain. Only should be a little tiny bit in there. Obviously, usually I drain the oil first, but there's still a little bit up there because we just started the car after we basically changed those plugs and leads over to make sure she was all good. That's about it. Now, the new one. Okay, so you don't have to do this, but usually, sometimes I very rarely do, just chuck a little bit of oil in there, not much at all, you know, just a tiny bit. Just enough to basically coat your filter inside up, rub a bit of excess oil over the ring. That's what I was always taught to do, so I just do it. Don't know if it really helps seal any better, but that's what I was taught to do, so that's what I do. Yeah, now you just basically screw this back up by hand. You need it really hand tight, like a good hand tight. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Just going to wipe my hands. So you just basically get it back up onto the threads. Get a couple of, where is the, I can't even see it at the moment. Alright, there we go. Get it back up onto your threads. Do 1,000 of these, you never have a drama. You do it on video, nothing but drama. There, just get a turn on him, tighten him up by hand, nice and tight. Not pay to chuck your rag on there, just to get a bit better grip. Oh, that's well and truly tight enough. Alright, now we'll just drop the oil and do the oil change. Okay, so on these EB Falcons, they're 3/4. Simple as, crack it, take it out, drop your oil. This particular motor's got shitloads of oil leaks at some stage when I move. I'm in the process of moving at the moment. When I move, we're going to pull the whole motor out, re-gasket the whole motor, put some new Welsh plugs in it, etc, etc. With these plugs, some of them, not some of them, all of them come with like a little washer. Sometimes it's copper or brass or whatever. Always good to replace these when you are doing your oil change, but we don't have one, so we're not going to do it. Backyard mechanics, eat your heart out. So when that drops, we can leave it run there for about 10 minutes. When all the oil's drained out of it, we'll put this back in, tighten it back up, and we'll show you what to do. Put the oil in. Pretty easy. Okay, so here's something that maybe some of you mightn't know. You get oil on your leads, and basically it roots your leads. There's like fibres inside your leads, and it basically absorbs into them and can stop the spark from travelling along. And basically it's like little fibres. You do not want to get oil on your leads whatsoever. Like tiny bit of greasy hands and that's fine, but definitely do not get excessive amount of oil on your leads. So yeah, get a little funnel to do this, and basically what we'll do is we'll top him up about 3.5 litres, somewhere around there, and we'll wipe the dipstick off and check him, and we'll just keep topping it up until it's basically showing up. We'll show you how to do that. Okay, so if your oil's showing up down here, obviously the add means that you have to add some. Full mark is here. Anywhere in between there is pretty good, but you know, generally you want to get it as close as you can as the full mark. So we're going to just check it now. We've put 4 litres in. We'll have a look what's showing up. We've let the jack back down so the car's level. You want the car as level as possible when you're checking your oil. Okay, so that is showing up just there. So we've done about 4 litres. I reckon about another half a litre to a litre and she should be full. You do have to wait a few minutes just to let it all sink down into the sump. So we'll wait a few minutes and we'll do it again and basically just top it up a little bit until it's reaching the full mark. And there's your oil change done. So we'll just top it back up a little bit more. Alright, we'll check that out and see where that's reading up in a few seconds, and we'll show you. Okay, so we've put that extra bit of oil in there, let it sit for a couple of minutes. We'll pull him out and see where we're up to. Yep, that is basically perfect. That is dead on the full mark. So there is your oil change done. Okay, so this is another very simple job. Basically just pulling the radiator hose off, top radiator hose. We've already cracked this one. You just basically loosen it right off, pull it off there, pull it off your radiator, and put your new one back on. We're going to be using the old clamps off this one because they're pretty good still. Chuck the new ones back on, same way you pulled it off, tighten it up, and yeah, we're going to do the bottom one as well. We'll probably show you if we run into any trouble with that one. Okay, same deal, just put the top one back on. Yeah, radiator clamp fell off. Let's look for that. Yeah, so you just jiggle that on. Same thing over here. You know, this is a very, very easy job, not rocket science. Might just help some beginner that's starting out. Yeah, and then you just tighten them back up. Simple as. Hold it in place. Tighten it up. These have to be pretty tight, otherwise you might end up with leaks. If you can't tighten them up with this, if it's starting to leak and you can't tighten them up with this, just get a little ratchet on there, give it another tiny little nick. Don't tighten them too far because you can ruin them. That's about it. Okay, so radiator hoses are back in. Just make sure, just go around and just give them a check. Just make sure that they're not wet on both sides. Even the next day or a couple of days later, just go around and do that and just check and make sure they're not leaking. Other than that, it's all done. Leads, oil, radiator hoses. Hope you liked the video. It might help someone out, hopefully. It's only basic stuff. If you do, just please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.